Ex-AOC aide sets sights on Pelosi's seat in bold primary challenge. And I want to be very clear about something. Please pay attention. The person in question here is somebody that I consider to be one of the top 5 most dangerous leftists in America. And I have for a very long time. He fell off the radar for a bit. Now apparently he's working his way back on. And we need to pay attention because he does have a bit of experience with unseating old Democrats, getting them out of the way for the fresh blood to come in. Story, let's go to the story first. This comes from Sarah Arnold over at townhall.com. Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi faces an unexpected primary challenge from a former aide to Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. The challenger, who previously worked closely with the squad member, is positioning himself as a progressive alternative to the longtime Democrat leader, calling for fresh leadership and a stronger push for bold reforms. With Pelosi having held her seat for decades, this challenge signals a potential shift in the district's political landscape and sets the stage for a high-stakes race in the upcoming election. Saikat Chakrabarti announced his bid to challenge Pelosi for her seat, which she has held for nearly 45 years. In his campaign pitch, he cited concerns with new government regulations and an alternative vision to President Donald Trump's form of government. He said, "After serving as her campaign manager and first chief of staff, I returned to San Francisco, where for 5 years I've led a policy think tank that develops comprehensive solutions to the problems that both America and San Francisco faces," Chakrabarti wrote on X. "Now I want to bring those solutions to Congress. I'm going to run a very different kind of campaign than most. Instead of spending hours each day doing call time with big money donors, I'm going to spend every day talking with voters." I know, what a radical idea. Now, we'll get back into the article, but I want to just note a few things about Saikat Chakrabarti. It said that he's, a close aide. He was actually her chief of staff. He also ran her campaign to both during the primaries as well as during the general election, which was the easy part, but he ran an extraordinarily successful campaign to unseat a very popular Democrat incumbent and to bring in a former bartender and have her win the district and then rise very quickly in the ranks to be maybe not powerful necessarily within the Democrat Party, but at least one of the most outspoken and often quoted Democrats out there. He was her chief of staff. He wasn't just an aide. He was also the person who was responsible, greatest responsibility, for even recruiting her in the first place. He was one of the founders of Justice Democrats. And I'll get to his big accomplishment here in a second. But I want to note something about his time. When he left, I had thought that he was going to be essentially infiltrating Congress way back when as chief of staff for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I thought that she was she's just going to go out there and be the face of the squad, the Justice Democrats, help to recruit new members, help to push a leftist ideology, but that behind the scenes he would be working within Congress, working with other chiefs of staff, as well as even other members of Congress, to try to push the agenda to the left. This man is a hardcore, full-blown Marxist. And when I say that, I'm not saying, we often throw around there, oh, he's a socialist, he's a communist, he's a Marxist. With Saikat Chakrabarti, he is legitimately a Marxist. He wants to end capitalism in the United States. He wants to end our democratic and constitutional republic, democratic form of I know we're not a democracy, but he wants to end the democratic form of government that we have, which is to end our constitutional republic. He truly wants to do these things. Now, his resume, which is very quiet and has been quiet up until I'm sure he's going to roll it out during the campaign, but this is the man who is the architect of something that everybody's heard of, that people often attribute incorrectly to people like Bernie Sanders or Markey or Ocasio-Cortez or whoever. No, it was Saikat Chakrabarti who developed the Green New Deal. He's the one who even was so bold as to go out there and do an interview way back in, I believe it was, 2019 maybe, he did an interview where he declared, perhaps too boldly, because I think this might have been one of the reasons that he ended up having to leave. But he declared that the Green New Deal really wasn't about climate change, and it really is about economic upheaval. He's a huge proponent of modern monetary theory. He does not believe in ownership by anyone other than the government. He is basically think of him as the America's version of Yuval Noah Harari, who is, of course, the spirit animal of the World Economic Forum. Some would argue that he is actually more in charge of the WEF than even Klaus Schwab. That's who Saikat Chakrabarti is. He's very much like Yuval Noah Harari. And I would even argue that when it comes to governance and economics, that he's to the left of the radical globalist Yuval Noah Harari. This man is extremely dangerous, but he's also very, very intelligent. And if anybody could unseat Nancy Pelosi, it would be him. And I would argue that he wouldn't even try if he didn't have some insight into his ability to actually defeat her. She is 84, okay? And as they noted in the article, she's been there for 45 years. The Democrat Party is ripe to want fresh blood. They are very mad. Democrat voters are very mad about their 2024 election fortunes. They are looking for something new, something better, something bigger, something bolder than what Nancy Pelosi brings to the table. And as her own mental acuity issues start to creep in, as her own flaws, and as more attention is paid to her sins, especially as it pertains to her husband and their magical stock market run that they've had all these years to become filthy rich, I think that he has. If I were forced to put a bet down today, with no knowledge of how he's going to actually run the campaign, well, I guess some speculation, but without seeing him on the campaign trail, just seeing him in the past, knowing his mind, knowing his ideology, knowing his district, they're going to love him. They're going to love him more than they've loved Nancy Pelosi for nearly half a century. And because of her age, because of the weakness of the Democrat Party today, I would say that he is a better than 60% chance of defeating her in a primary. As impossible as that would have sounded just 2 or 3 years ago, today I think that it's likely. I think that Nancy Pelosi is done. I think that it might be so bad for her that she announces before the election that she's retiring finally. And nobody would hold that against her. She's in her 80s. She's been doing this for half a century. She's no longer Speaker of the House. She's done her work. She's done her sins. She's done her crimes. It's time for her to move on. And Saikat Chakrabarti, unfortunately, is the right person to move her along. Let's get back to the article. He suggested he would begin at the grassroots by holding online meetings with voters as he prepares to campaign for California's 12th congressional district. Watching Trump and Elon freely unleash chaos in their illegal seizures of government, it's become clear to me that the Democrat Party needs new leadership, he said. I'm going to find every way I can to try to talk to everybody that I possibly can in San Francisco and get my message directly to them. Now, for those who aren't from out here in California, you might not realize that San Francisco is actually very small. I mean, relative to San Diego, obviously Los Angeles, San Jose, San Francisco, the Bay Area is very compact, very tiny, very easy to get around. I mean, when he says he wants to talk to everybody there, that's not inconceivable. He really probably could. Not literally everybody, but talk to enough people to make them believe that he is the future of the party. And if he were to win, he would definitely become more dangerous than any other member of the squad. He would become the de facto leader of the squad. They would turn to him because, again, I cannot stress this enough. This man is brilliant. I need everyone to understand how dangerous he is. AOC, we can make fun of her. She makes mistakes. She's a dimwit. Ilhan Omar says all of the evil things that she says. and her allegiance is very clear and unambiguously for Islam and for Somalia. Of course, Rashida Tlaib, Presley, all of them. So their shine, their shimmer has been diminished greatly. It's one of the reasons why Cori Bush lost. One of the reasons that Jamal Bowman lost. Of course, the pulling of the fire alarm didn't help his cause. But the squad, the so-called squad, it was rising really fast, and all of a sudden it just crashed and burned because, and I would argue that this is definitely the case, it's because Saikat Chakrabarti left AOC staff. I think that if I don't know the background, I don't know why he left. It was sudden. Okay, I thought maybe he'd gotten involved in some kind of scandal they were trying to cover up, but now it's been 5 years, and well, he did his time at the think tank where he was able to do quite a bit of damage, to be clear. I'll talk about everything he did there on some other segment. But again, if he is able to win, to defeat Nancy Pelosi in the primary, whether by talking her into leaving or just defeating her outright, he will win the general election, of course, in that district by a landslide. No other challenger. Well, there would probably be no Republican challenger, and no other Democrat challenger would be able to come close. So he might actually end up having to beat Nancy Pelosi twice. We'll get into that when it comes. Point being is this: keep your eye on him. Don't disregard it. Don't be like, oh, Nancy Pelosi could never lose a primary. If anybody could beat her in a primary, it would be him. And again, let's not forget, he has experience with taking a longtime popular incumbent Democrat and defeating them with somebody who's relatively unknown. He's not nearly as unknown as AOC was. And he's in a district that's to the left of the Bronx, believe it or not. So, she's in her 80s. He's young. He's very well spoken. She sounds like she's on her third shot of vodka every time she speaks. The atmosphere is ripe for massive change in the Democrat Party. I think it's a foregone conclusion. I think he's going to be in Congress, and when he's there, he's going to be extremely dangerous. If there's one thing that people who are brand new to prepping often forget, it's the long-term storage meds. I think a lot of times people either forget them or they don't realize that they can acquire medications that can be held for an extended period of time. My good friends over at Jace Medical, well, they've got you covered, whether it's for chronic meds, for illnesses that you or your family members have, whether it's antibiotics, just being ready for whatever is going to happen in the world. These are things that you should have available to you if you're going to be preparing for self-reliance in the long haul. Go to jdrucker.com/meds, jdrucker.com/meds. Use promo code Rucker10, the number 10, Rucker10 at checkout, and you get a nice discount on top of that. jdrucker.com/meds.